Hello and welcome to, well, Intro to Gnomoria. Yeah, so if you're, just real quick, if you're coming from my Don't Start videos and you're wondering where those are, I died a bunch and it was annoying and suffice to say, embarrassed myself out of playing that game for a while. I figured it's time to take a break, I need to chill. I kind of am wandering aimlessly in that game without any clear directives, but I'll revisit it at some point. Won't make any promises about anytime soon or anything like that, but if you're really interested in it, maybe I'll bring it up some more. But in the meantime, we're playing Gnomoria. Now, what is Gnomoria? Gnomoria is a much more accessible version, sort of, you could say, of Dwarf Fortress. What is Dwarf Fortress? Well, I'm going to go ahead and kind of lay out the rules for what both of the games are, because they are basically identical. But basically, this is a very... Imagine Minecraft if it were a city builder with a whole bunch of woodland... what would you call it? Gnomes, spirits, dwarves, that kind of a deal. In this particular case, it's gnomes. And there's also goblins and things like that that are in the game. So it's all kind of fantasy-based. But the whole point is basically harvest resources, build a town, and try to keep everybody alive for as long as possible, which is usually particularly difficult. Now, whenever I say, for those of you who are familiar with Dwarf Fortress, it lacks a lot of the incredibly complicated dynamic aspects of Dwarf Fortress, which is why I kind of like it, aside from the fact that it looks a lot more inviting. There's a few problems I have with kind of the isometric aspect to the game, and that's something I'll more than likely explore as I go on. And yeah, and it's also in early access on Steam. It's very nicely put together, and it's a fun game to play, but there are little bugs, there's little issues with, say, the interface. The GUI needs some work for sure. But other than that, I mean, I think it's a pretty clean game. And whenever I'm playing Dwarf Fortress, it's very hard for me to stay focused for very long, because there's just so much going on in that game, and it's so complex. And I think it appeals to a certain level of thing, like detail, that while I appreciate, I don't necessarily really like delving into too frequently. So I played Gnomoria. Gnomoria is a really good alternative to that. If you maybe have looked at Dwarf Fortress, or your friends have told you, hey, you should try this Dwarf Fortress game, and you saw the ASCII roguelike graphics, like original roguelike graphics, and you were like, you know what, maybe I won't. Perhaps this game will bring you into the fold and you can see what's up with that. So let's go ahead and get into it so I can explain a little bit more what's going on. Oh, I have nothing to load. The bathed land. The wild show. It's a wild show. That makes me happy, but hold on, let's go. The Rack Kingdom. Rack Kingdom, bitch. Rack Kingdom, bitch. Yeah, no, okay. The Incested Land. Well, then, no. Land of Brilliances. The Quaked Land. I don't like that. The Bathed Land. Land of Winters. Swiftness Clasp. Is that enough? That's not enough S's and C's next to each other, I don't think. Land of Honeys. The Fluted Land. Land of Hexes. The Rose Kingdom. The Cinderous Kingdom. Yeah. Land of Thorns. Aged Land. Turmoil Silence. What was the one I had earlier that was just obnoxious? This is like take 3 of trying to shoot these videos. I've been having all kinds of complications, and I had to switch from XSplit to, or like private recording to casting recording in order to get it to work so far. The Mysterious Kingdom, Land of Gristles, Land of Storms, the Hay Kingdom. I like that. The Hay Kingdom. Hey, what's up? Hey. I guess you could take that and turn it into a hey, but you know what? We're probably never, like, ever gonna notice this name later on. So, yeah, why not? We're gonna do this just so that we can get a preview of what our land is gonna look like here. Oh, that's actually pretty good. My goal here is to kind of make like a Machu Picchu sort of inspired kingdom. So we'll see how I actually manage to pull that off, but it should be pretty good. Now this takes a little while, so I'm going to go ahead and skip to the end. Alright, so liquids are settling, which means that we're just about done with the map generation here, and here we are. So here's our starting cadre of gnomes. We've got, well, let's see, we can do this. We've got, Bimboodlewinkle, Axel, Vert, Danglebur, Fifizbura, Ferg, Gald, Wan, and Oslinwanet. Oslinwanet. There's no genders here. They don't have children or anything like that, but they do kind of have goofy names, so I guess that's a plus. Sure. All right. So, let's see. How do we go about this? Right now, let's go ahead and survey what there is to survey. And looks like, yeah, we've got orange trees over there. There's some pine trees, more orange trees. Are those apple? No, those are more orange trees. Let's see. Orange trees galore and no apples. That's peculiar. Are there really no apple trees? That makes me a little sad. I like having some variety. There's no real, like, purpose to it. Like, they don't get particularly upset if all they have is oranges. But it makes more sense to make apple cider than it is to make orange cider. In fact, oh, wait, there's the apples. They're right damn there. All right, cool. And then we've got birch trees, got a lot of cotton and everything else. Pretty standard stuff. Nothing too major. Now, I played this recently while I was on my business trip, and played through about 3 or 4 different kingdoms just because I kept screwing up. And what ends up happening is I get so tied up in mega projects that I kind of forget to do really, really basic things. And so I get really hung up on terraforming and making sure I can get all of this other stuff taken care of, and I get really ahead of myself and then just screw it all up. So I'm going to hopefully not do that since I'm a little bit wiser now. I did play a couple games a long time ago that were really long, but they've changed the game in some certain ways that make it much more difficult to have sort of an infinitely running game. So down here at the bottom we have our tasks menu, and we can go to agriculture, and what I want to do is take clippings of all these trees here, because we're going to cut these down and make room for farms. That's going to happen. That's going to be a thing. But since these are our only apple trees on the map, I want to make sure that we can actually preserve them later on and be able to use them. And then what else can we do? We can forage. We are going to forage this area, because there's a lot of oranges and other food goodies there. And then, yes, this is basically, for the most part, how the start of the game really works. It's a whole lot of plotting and planning and figuring out where you want things to go and then going from there. So let me go ahead and we're going to go terrain. We are going to remove ramps here, and then we're going to mine inward this way. Well, if it would let me. Okay, there we go. What the hell? Mine wall. That is what I picked, right? Yeah, okay. Well, I must have... Oh, I still had it on ramps. That was what the problem was. Alright, we're going to mine inwards. Pretty much almost to the other side, just so we can get kind of a slice of what's going on underneath this mountain. And then we'll take it off a pause. It's going to immediately autosave. Okay, and then we'll speed things up a little bit. So that we can at least have this started out. I'm going to go ahead and make a 3x3 room here. Carve that little bit out. Okay. I'm going to be playing this a little tactically, so if you want to use this as kind of a how to start guide, then by all means, I would not be offended. Alright, we're going to pause really quick. Since I'm going hyperspeed, I'm going to allow myself to pause. Alright, and we want to build furniture, and the first thing that we want are some straw beds. There we go. Any straw, we'll build 6 of those. We can do 6 and stay stable. And then we are also going to start a farm for hay. Or straw, if you will. It's a good number to start with. You know what? I'm going to stick with 6x6s for now. We're going to set that to wheat. And we are going to go back. Another thing I do is I end up making these huge farms that give me like an absurd excess of food that I never go through, and then all my farmers just end up farming forever and never really being able to prioritize appropriately. So there we go. These guys are pruning these trees, and those clippings we'll be able to plant into groves later on, and we're also getting some pine clippings too, which is not a bad thing. And then of course apples that we can eat. And they're building the beds right there. I can tear down the walls. You can see a little bit better right there. Yeah, we're doing just dandy. And yeah, so here's our basic setup. This is absolutely... Why is nobody farming, actually? Hold on. Population. Assign. Builder, farmer, miner, rancher, woodcutter. Okay, cool. So for some reason, our farmers are not farming. This bothers me a little bit. Wheat farm. Can I up your priority? Oh, that's right. I told them to forage, so they're foraging first. Your farmers are also your foragers, so they're going to do this first, which is fine. They're going to get all that food set up, and we'll have enough to live off of for quite some time. Now, what I want to do is start planning out how I want to handle all of this. I think first things first, actually, let's go ahead and we want to build floors. We want actual dirt floors. And we're going to build them all the way around in this area. And we're doing this. That lake will be fine, but what we can do now is actually build a well over this covered up lake. So that will be like our emergency water supply. I've had communities die from lack of drinks because they won't drink straight from the lake like they will in, say, Door Fortress. I wonder why I would make that comparison. So they'll just die if you forget to make drinks, or if you run out of the stuff that you can actually make drinks with. So yeah, that's definitely that's a real concern you should look out for. Covering up an area where you can actually come back and build a lake. Plus also this gives us a little bit more arable land to work with. Never a bad thing. We're going to go ahead and cover up this area too. We're going to switch now to replace floor. Where are we? 1 second. Terrain. Yeah, replace floor. We want actual dirt floor. Here, here, here. Those are clay floors, and on clay floors you can't build farms or even pastures, which is just a teensy bit irritating in my opinion. And so now those will be usable for more things than just being a dirt floor, basically. Alright, now we go back to agriculture. Fell trees. We're gonna just fell a whole bunch of trees over here. These are all birch, which means they're worth a lot, which can get a little dangerous. Value determines how many extra gnomes that you get, as well as how frequently and how aggressively you're attacked by enemies. So we're gonna go ahead and cut down all of these trees here. And there we go. I'll tell you what I should be doing right now is building my first crude workbench. So now we get a little bit into the profession progression. Profession progression, profession progression, profession progression. That's not too bad. Okay, cool. Let's go terrain, mine. There we go. Mine walls. Alright, we're gonna do, let's see, most of them. Yeah, we want 5 by 11. Yeah, we'll do that. That'll be our starting camp for, actually, we'll do 2 like that. 5 by 11. Most of our guys are asleep right now, which is fine. And that'll be our beginning workshop area. Let's go back over here. So you can see guys still running around. Now what they'll do, if there's no beds available, they'll continue to run around until they just pass out. And, which is not good because they end up sleeping for a lot longer to recharge up to full. Whereas if they have a hay bed, they'll fall asleep faster, but they'll also recover much more quickly and get back to work. So it improves your efficiency by quite a bit. And we can upgrade those beds later on once we get a tailor figured out. But for now, we're digging out our, basically where we're going to be building most of our basic stuff here. And that's going to be really good. And then we'll get through that. I'll get all these trees chopped down eventually. And then we can start actually building some good stuff. And then I can start talking about how I want to go about designing things. Oh, you know what? I need to find stone. That's right. That was the other reason why I bothered to go through here. So there's no stone here. I can either dig out that way, or I can just dig down, which I think would probably be more prudent. Let's go. The sun has risen. Good stuff. Dig. Stairs down. Alright. And then we'll dig stairs down there. And there. And there. We're at depth 3. At about 5. I think monsters don't start spawning until depth 6 or so. Oh, cool. We've got really cool, like, brownstone happening here. Let's see. What is that? Sandstone wall? Do we have any other variable stones? There's like there's a few pixels of different shade there. Hold on, how do I, whoop. Hidden? Yeah, there's a button That's walls. There we go. So you can actually see through the empty spaces there, which is really cool once you get further along. But we've got sandstone, which is perfect. I haven't had sandstone in forever, and I find it particularly appealing to me. Aesthetically wise. Alright, so let's go ahead and we're going to mine out some of these walls here. Okay. Oh man, this music is so jamming. I don't know if I'm being sarcastic or not. There's a weird sort of appeal with it to me. I don't normally listen to it though, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Let's see. Let's go ahead and we need a crude workbench. First things first. Crude workbench. So they're basically going to bring up a stone and a log. So log is there to sit on, and the stone is to beat shit on until it becomes a tool or something. So, yeah, real brilliant stuff. And then we are going to, now that we have that, create, hopefully in a reasonable order. Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll start with a carpenter. So, just to give you an idea of what's going on with all of these. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's go. Build. Workshop. Sawmills cut wood into planks. A crude workbench will do it too, just much slower. Unfortunately, you need a saw blade, which requires a stone mason. So a stone cutter cuts stone into blocks, which are used by the stonemason then to make tools and other things. But all of that stuff requires chairs and tables, which are created fastest at the carpenter. So we're building the carpenter first because that's the stuff that gets built the most of. Man, I'm not sure exactly how I've decided to say things here, but I know it's not great. And our woodcutters are currently asleep. Oh, you know what we also need to do? Real quick on military. We need to create positions. We're going to create a new position called Monk. Perk. We've got Way of the Gnome. Increased attack speed, attack damage, dodge chance, and dodge rate when no armor or weapons are equipped. So, pursue lost targets, maintain distance, retreat of bleeding, retreat to equip uniform, retreat to refill ammo, and assist squad leader. That's going to be good. Way of the Gnome, uniform, none. So we want to make sure they're not actually wearing anything. Let's go, new uniform, none. Yes, okay. We'll call this Monkiform. Sure. So if they have no equipment, basically they get a bunch of bonuses that they wouldn't normally get. They're not going to be super, super fantastic. It's not going to be like a Final Fantasy 1 monk or anything. So, but it's going to be better than what we currently have to work with. You start out with a suit of armor, but it's not particularly great. Let's see, new formation. We're going to call this Monklings, because they're tiny, I guess. Let's see. Keep your eyes open for each active position. The best defense, increase melee weapon damage for each member with a melee weapon. I don't know if fists count for that. Let's see, shield wall, no. Fire at will. Suppressive fire. Alright, we're gonna just do keep your eyes open. Leader is a monk. 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 And monk. Perform attack orders, defend gnomes, avoid enemies. No, we don't want to do any of that. So, we're gonna have a new squad called the Gazing Lights of Fish. Randomized name. The Foggy Candiers. The Willful Hoggers. The Fishy Barbers. The Ruling Tales of Pocket. Let's stick with the Dripped Strikes. That's almost interesting. Let's go Fist of the Northern Star. There we go. Fists. There we go. That's a play on something. I'm not telling you what. Alright, Monklings. Alright, and now we're going to pick, let's see. We have miner, woodcutter, woodcutter. I want to kind of stick with things that don't have tools with them normally. So we'll do builder, builder, one farmer, and it doesn't look like we have much of a chance, or choice. So I'm only doing one from each thing and not doing, like, say, both woodcutters or both farmers, because we're going to get them to train through part of the day. We want to make sure at least one person is working at all times on the tasks that we need to keep everybody alive, naturally. So, yeah, this is the basic setup. Excuse me, we're coughing. You can kind of tell what's going on. We haven't gotten any attacks yet. We'll get those whenever summer rolls around. We're only on the second day of spring, though, so we're making decent progress. We have a lot of time to basically prepare to start receiving attacks, and those make the game quite a bit interesting. But in the meantime, we're also going to be trying to lay out exactly where we want to put... Man, you're quite a bit off the beaten path, aren't you? You must be bored. Okay. And basically what I want to do is actually get a whole bunch of sandstone and build out of the side of the walls here. And have little rooms and areas for people to go to, and courtyards and all kinds of fun stuff. And yeah, Machu Picchu and or Petra, depending on how you want to view it, are my major influences there. Yeah, that's how you turn the camera. So it's a little jarring. I like the idea of it being an isometric view, but it definitely has its drawbacks, which I'm sure you will hear me complain about more than once. So don't worry about that. And man, I am really glad I got sandstone. Usually it's something obnoxious like lapis lazuli, which is this bright blue, and the contrast is pretty severe, and I always find it kind of bothersome. And you can get different stones, like chances are we'll be able to find each and every kind of stone on this map, but you have to dig pretty deep down, and once you start going further and further down, you start putting yourself at risk to greater and greater threats that, you know, will basically kill you. I had one base destroyed by zombies. There are zombie gnomes in the game, and they will eat you alive. Pretty much literally. And then whenever you die, the dead ones become zombies, and whatever they kill gets up and becomes a zombie, and so on and so forth. You know the quote. And yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. I wasn't quite sure what I was doing at the time, and still relatively new to the game, and it made me really upset. So I don't go much further below level 6 until I feel like my military's in a comfortable spot, which, as of right now, it is not. So yeah, we're gonna finish covering up this lake here. I'm kind of delaying. I really do enjoy this game quite a bit. So let me see if I can... What can I build? Is the well... Yeah, the well's considered part of that. So, any block, any plank. I cannot build a well here. Oh, you have to actually literally build it over water. Okay, cool. So what we'll do is we'll cancel this job right here. And then we'll build a well over that whenever the time comes. And then, yeah, that ought to be really good. So... either way, this has been the intro to Gnomoria. Stick around, there will definitely be plenty more of these episodes coming, and I might actually get to a point where I'm caught up and can start another series. That's the hope. If nothing else, I'm not saying it's going to be Don't Starve, I'm not saying it's going to be Abyssal Odyssey, I'm not going to say it's anything in particular, but if I can get, like, a reasonable number of episodes of this in the can, then... I'll just start doing simultaneous airings again, and it'll be really good stuff. But, you know, that'll also be contingent upon whether or not I get better internet within the next week. So there's a little bit of a actual news update as far as my life is concerned. That's next on the agenda, is get better internet so I can upload more than, you know, 3 episodes a day, which definitely has put kind of a damper on my willfulness to actually create these videos. So that'll do it. I'll tell you that much. Oh, hey, now we can start this. If we choose dig hole, and then here's where the isometric kind of fails me a little bit. It's really hard to tell exactly what you're targeting. There we go. Just because there's no other contrast to green here, and it's kind of hard to see perspective-wise. Although I'm definitely not an expert in this realm, and I wouldn't know how to actually fix it, so my complaints are basically worthless. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Yeah, and now they'll dig all of that down. We'll have a ton of dirt to play in and use for walls and all kinds of other fun stuff, and they'll probably end up trapping themselves up on this platform up here, but we'll have all this extra space too for more farmlands and all that good stuff. And we can also start making orchards to get fruit out of. And we'll have hay, so our oxen will survive. And when our oxen survive, we survive. And that will be a whole nother mechanic for a later time. But, yeah, so I hope you will enjoy this series. I do enjoy playing this game quite a bit, and I've always kind of wanted to make videos of it. If for no other reason, just, yeah, now I'm kind of pontificating and drawing it out. But why not? I feel like talking. But yeah, I always kind of wanted to play this, and it started out as like, no, don't play games like this, they're kind of boring. But I realized this is a lot of the kind of videos that I play, and also my most watched series was a city builder where I ran around and managed a factory and built trains and stuff. So it's like, hey, maybe these aren't so bad anyways, and I don't mind being a city builder kind of survival channel anyway. So either way, yeah, that's enough pontificating for now. I'm done. I'll stop. And I will also see you next time. Have fun.